So in the first unit we have discussed the capabilities of SQL select statement, and in select statement we have discussed two clauses. One is select clause and another is from clause. In the second topic we are going to discuss how we can restrict the data and how we can sort the data whenever we want to retrieve the data from the database. So the objectives of this lesson is to learn how we can limit the rows retrieved by a query and how we can perform sorting of the rows that are retrieved by the query. So first let us focus on how we can limit the rows, and that can be done with help of selection operation. So let us consider one example as given in this particular slide. So suppose we are having an employees table, and in that employees table, as you all can see, there are 20 rows. So there are 20 employees in this particular table, but I am interested to see only such employees who are working in, say, department whose department ID is 90. So there are only 3 employees out of 20 who are working in a department whose department ID is 90. So I want to perform a selection. So I want to just restrict, instead of 20 rows, I want to just see data of these specific employees, the employees who are working in a specific department, say department ID 90. So in order to do this limiting, we can use another clause in SQL, and that clause is where clause. So restricting of rows can be done with help of where clause. How we write this where clause is, we have seen select, from, and below that now we write where clause. Now writing this where clause is optional. You may have conditions or you may not have conditions. If you don't have conditions, we will not write where clause. But select and from is a mandatory clause in any SQL query. So where is optional, that's why it is written in the form of brackets in the syntax. And the sequence is that you write this where clause after your from clause. So first you will write select clause, then you will write from clause, and then you will write where clause. When this query is getting executed by the SQL engine, first the query will go to from clause. In the from clause, it will check that on which table you have fired this query. Then it will go in where clause. It will apply those conditions, and based on the conditions, whatever rows are returned, of those rows only specific columns that you have mentioned in select will be displayed. So writing sequence of the query is select, from, where, whereas the execution sequence for the query is from, then where, and then select. So let us write the example query for the same example which we have mentioned in the above screenshot. So select employee ID, last name, job ID, and department ID from employees where department ID is equal to 90. So in the output you can see there are only such employees displayed whose department ID is 90, and not all the 20 employees from our table. Now sometimes our conditions might be based on string data and date data. In the above example you can see the condition is based on a numeric data. 90 is a numeric data. Now suppose while writing these conditions we are dealing with some string data or date data. As we have discussed in the first chapter also, when we are dealing with string literals or when we are dealing with date literals, then these literals has to be written in single quotation marks, and these character literals are case sensitive and date values are format sensitive. Okay, when I say format sensitive, we'll discuss more about formats in third chapter. But with respect to character values, if we say it is case sensitive, the data is case sensitive, but the keywords are not case sensitive. If we recollect from the first unit, we discussed that SQL syntax, basically the keywords inside the SQL are not case sensitive. So you can write select, from, where in any case, maybe capital letter or small letter. But when it comes to data, say for example last name is equal to Valen. So this Valen we are we are specifically telling that in Valen W is capital followed by small letters HALEN. So the data here is case sensitive. So whenever we want to write conditions based on these string values or date values, then we have to write those values in single quote, whereas the numeric data you can write directly, whereas the character values and date values we are going to write in single quotes. So what this query will do is, this query will display record of those employees whose last name is Valen. So it will display last name, job ID, and department ID for those employees whose last name is Valen. Now which different conditions we can make use of while writing the where clause? So these are 6 different conditions that you can use. Equal to, see the operator that is being used. Usually in programming languages, the equal to operator is used by writing 2 equal to symbols. A single equal to is indicating an assignment operator in C language, right? But here it is something different. The equal to operator in Oracle is single equal to symbol. Then we have greater than, equal to, less than, equal to, and not equal to. Not equal to is something which looks like less than and greater than symbol, which is again different from that of C programming language. Okay, so these are 6 different comparison conditions. Any of these conditions can be used while writing the where clause. We can see one sample example. Suppose I want to print only those employees whose salary is less than equal to 3000. So I am printing only last name and salary of such employees whose salary is less than equal to 3000. So in this query you can see that only 2 employees are getting displayed whose salary values are less than equal to 3000 in the employees table. Now, apart from these 6 relational operators, we can also make use of certain additional comparison conditions which are provided in Oracle. These are between and, in, like, and is null. Let us see meaning of each one of these by understanding their examples. Let us first start with between and. Now suppose I want to write a query like this, that I want to print all the employees whose salary is between 2500 and 3500. So I want to print all such employees whose salary is greater than or equal to 2500 and less than or equal to 3500. So we are writing the query like this: select last name comma salary from employees table, where the salary between lower limit and upper limit. So your lower limit value will be written first and then the upper limit value will be written, and both these values will be included while displaying the data. So we will be displaying the records of those employees whose salary is 2500 also and whose salary is 3500 also. In the sample data you can see there are 2 employees. The first employee is having salary 3500, whereas the last employee is having salary 2500. So these records are also getting included. So both these limit values are also included. This is as good as writing a query where the salary is greater than or equal to 2500 and less than or equal to 3500. Now what will happen if I write this query in this manner? Select last name salary from employees where salary between 3500 and 2500. Can you make any guesses? Salary between 3500 and 2500. Okay, let me give you the answer. We all know that the lower limit value has to be written first and then the upper limit value. Now the SQL engine will not take this as an error in your syntax. Rather, it will try to find such values which are greater than or equal to 3500 and less than or equal to 2500. But we all know that there is no such value which is greater than or equal to 3500 and less than or equal to 2500. So output of this query will be no rows returned. So the query will compile, the query will execute, but the output for this type of query where you interchange the lower limit and upper limit value, for this type of query in between and your output will be no rows returned. I hope you have understood how between and clause works as an additional condition. Let us move to the next option. The next thing that we can use while writing condition is in. So let us understand what is the meaning of in operator. We use the in membership condition to test for values in a given list. Now suppose I want to print all those employees whose manager IDs are 100, 101 and 201. Say for example, we have 3 departments in our college: computer, electronics and civil. So computer is having an HOD, electronics is having an HOD and civil is having an HOD. So I want to print all the employees whose HOD is HOD of computer, HOD of civil and HOD of electronics. Okay, so there will be some employees with manager ID 100, which is say computer. There are some employees whose manager ID is say 101, which is say electronics, and some are 201, which is say civil. So instead of writing 3 different queries and then clubbing their answers, we can write this in a single query. So select employee ID comma last name comma salary comma manager ID from employees where manager ID in, and whatever values you want you can add in that list. So the output will include all the records whose manager ID is equal to 100 and manager ID is equal to 101 or the manager ID is equal to 201. So it will take union of all those 3 values. You can see that 201 manager ID wala employees are also there, 101 manager ID wala employees are also there, similarly 100 manager ID wala employees are also there. So it is taking union of all those records, and this is how we can use this in clause as an option for writing certain queries. The next option that we have while writing the where condition is like. This is a very important concept in Oracle SQL. This like is used in order to make wildcard search. Now what do I mean by wildcard search? Suppose I want to see all the employees whose names are starting with S. Whose names are starting with S. First name is starting with S. So say for example my own name, say Suhel, or there are names like say Sahil or Suraj. So all these records I want to display. So the first letter is S, which is fixed for me. After that anything can come in my data. So for this we can make use of a wildcard search with help of like keyword, and we write the query like this: select first name from employees where first name like in single inverted in single quotes, because it is a character literal, S percentage. Now what percentage indicates here? Percentage indicates 0 or more characters. So the first character is S, that is compulsory. After S anything can come. So any number of characters can come, 0 to many. Suppose there is a record in my table which is only S, say for example. So that record will also be displayed in my answer, because percentage indicates 0 or many characters. Now there is one more option while writing this like query, that is underscore. Underscore denotes one character. So you can consider this example. I want to print all such employees whose second character is O. Whose second character is, suppose, O. So second character is O means first character can be anything. So first character will be represented with help of underscore. What underscore denotes? Underscore denotes one character. Underscore denotes one character. By mistake this underscore 0 is looking into the next line in black colors in this presentation. The first is underscore, then there is O, and then there is percentage. So underscore indicates one character. It can be any character. So we have KLM in the data. Second character is O, and after that we can have 0 to many characters in the form of percentage. So this is how we can make use of these two symbols to perform any kind of wildcard search while writing our query. Now again we should understand that these searches also will be case sensitive, because our data is case sensitive. In the above query, as you can see, we have written capital S percentage. So if my name is written in the database with first letter as capital S, then only my data will be retrieved. If my data is having small s, if my name is small SUHL, then that data will not be retrieved with this query, because data is case sensitive. Keywords are not case sensitive, but data is case sensitive. Even if I want that data to be retrieved, how we can do it? We require certain functions for that. We are going to learn those functions in our third chapter. So what we understand from this is our data is case sensitive, and with help of like we can perform wildcard searches, and we have two patterns in it: percentage, which denotes 0 or more characters, and underscore that denotes one character. We also have fourth option, that is in the form of null. So we can print all those employees whose manager ID is null. So who can be this employee? King, right? King will not have a boss in any company. So you can see some meaningful example written over here, that last name is King and his manager ID is null. So he might be called as CEO of the company, right? So other employees will not be displayed, because your condition is where manager ID is null. So only such records will be displayed in your output. Apart from that, we can use logical conditions also while writing our query. We all know what these logical conditions mean in our normal logical reasoning. And means if both are true, then the answer is true. Or means if either of the component is true, then the answer is true. And not means it is negation of your given question. So if it is true, it is false. If it is false, it is true. So we can use this by writing multiple conditions. So where salary is greater than or equal to 10,000 and a job ID like percentage man percentage. So what this indicates, that both of these conditions will be applied, and whatever records are common in those will only be displayed. So salary should also be greater than or equal to 10,000, and job ID should also be containing somewhere as man, that is manager. Okay, then only those records will be displayed. Whereas what will be for OR? What OR says, either salary is greater than equal to 10,000 or job ID is manager. So if any one of these condition is true, still the record will be displayed in the output. So you can see that in the above query of AND,
0.
so in the above query of AND we have two records displayed, whereas in the below query of OR we have 8 records getting displayed because it is OR. So some records will fulfill salary greater than equal to 10,000, whereas some records will fulfill job ID containing manager, right? So it is giving more records as compared to ANDing. And the third one, that is NOT. So how we can use NOT? So here we are using NOT with IN. So where job ID not in this. So apart from these job IDs, all other job IDs records will be displayed. So select last name comma job ID from employees, where job ID not in IT programming, ST clerk and sales representative. So apart from these 3 job IDs, all other job IDs and are included, and all those employees are getting displayed in this particular query. Now these are rules of precedence, so and it will follow by default. So one example is given. So AND is having more precedence than OR, so ANDing will be solved first, then ORing will be done. And if you want to overcome the precedence, as we do with arithmetic also, so that precedence can be overcome with help of parenthesis. So if I add parenthesis, first ORing will be done and then ANDing will be done. So this is how we can use the where clause in order to restrict the data. Now the second part of this chapter speaks about order by clause. So order by clause is a clause which is used to sort the data. So the second part of our chapter which speaks about sorting the data. Now this sorting can be done with help of order by clause. Sorting can be done in two ways, ascending or descending. By default it is ascending in nature. Keyword for ascending is ASC, keyword for descending is DESC. So if I write a query like this, that select last name, job ID, department ID, hire date from employees, order by hire date. So I have not specified here whether ascending or descending, but we know that by default it is ascending. So here you can see that all the data is ordered in the ascending order of hiring date. So smallest hiring date are first, then greater hiring dates will be coming at the end. This is how the records will be displayed. If I want to sort in descending order, you can see here order by hire date, then I have to write DESC as keyword because by default it is ascending. I can also write ASC as keyword, but even if I don't write it, by default it is going to happen in ascending order. So if I want it in descending order, I have to specifically mention order by hire date DESC. Now this ascending and descending can be done with characters, it can be done with numbers, it can be done with dates also. So here one example of dates we have seen, of ascending as well as of descending. You can also do sorting with help of column aliases. We have studied column aliases in first chapter, right? So here salary multiplied by 12, I have given a column alias in the form of ANNSAL. So I am using that ANNSAL for ordering purpose. So based on annual salary, the ordering have been done, and by default it is ascending. So you can see the data is represented in the ascending format. So we can also sort the data with help of ascending. Okay, where this order by clause is written in the query, it is written after where clause. Basically order by clause is written at the end of query. So it is the last clause. We are going to study few more clauses after this. All those clauses are going to come in between. So order by clause is always the last clause. So what will be the writing sequence of the query? Select, then from, then where, and then order by. So in our example we don't have a where here, but suppose if it is existing, what will be the writing sequence? Select, from, where, and order by. And how the query will execute? From, then where, conditions will be applied, then select, it will display the columns, and then ordering. So ordering is written at the last and ordering is executed also at the last. So if ordering is getting executed at the last, so select is getting executed before that, and if select is getting executed before that, column aliases are also getting defined before that, and hence those aliases can be used while performing the ordering. So the execution sequence by Oracle SQL Engine is from, then where, then select, and then order by, whereas the writing sequence of query is select, from, where, and order by. We can also sort with help of multiple columns. Say for example order by department ID, and salary DESC. What this indicates? This doesn't indicate that I am doing two sortings. No, I am doing a single sorting. What this indicates is my primary basis of sorting is on basis of department ID. In case if I have same department IDs, say for example I have two department IDs 20 in my data and I have 5 department IDs 50 in my data. So how do I sort that data then? Then I can apply second criteria, say salary. So department ID by default it is ascending because nothing is mentioned, and salary is descending because it is mentioned over there. So in the output you can see first department ID 10, single record is there, so it doesn't make any sense. It is getting printed. Then two department ID 20 are there. In that, whose salary is greater is printed first, 13,000 and then 6,000. Then department ID 55 records are there. In that again salary in the descending order from 5,800 to 2,500. So this is how we can also sort the data on the basis of multiple columns. So this is how we have studied different syntax that can be used while restricting the data and while sorting the data in Oracle SQL. We'll come back with the third chapter of single row function in the next video. Thank you.